Hey guys, how you doing? I've been dreading this. So I guess in a way, in some ways, I suppose it was always going to happen eventually. Um, but yeah, this is not fun. So this is the race report, shall we say, from Ironman 70.3 Traverse City. Now, I knew it wasn't going to be easy. That half Ironman never is. A triathlon never is. But and I knew that my prep going into it hadn't been the best because of work and various other mental and physical factors. Um, but the race day for me was just, and the lead up to it has just been absolutely horrific. So, last episode, I was still in transit. I was still on my way to Traverse City, so I was in LAX, and I had to go through Chicago, then onto TVC after that. Um, there was a lot of delays, so there's some bad weather in Chicago, which meant that all the flights in and out of Chicago were being delayed, which meant that I was a couple of hours late getting into Chicago. I was in a few hours late leaving Chicago to head to Traverse City. I was a few hours late getting there, so it was very late by the time I got to back to April's place. Um, there was some and sort of so just try to just a few challenges, and I've cut it a lot finer coming into town. Like normally, I when I'm traveling for races, I get in a week before. This time, I was only getting in 2 days before race day. So it was sort of really, two and a half days before race day. So I was getting, really cutting it fine, especially for me. So I was already feeling a little under the weather from the travel because normally it knocks me around for about a day. And I take some vitamins and stuff like that to roll with it to help that. And that's generally pretty good. But yeah, it did just knock me around a bit. But I knew that going in. And I thought, no, that's all right. I trained hard. Got my nutrition plan. I got my run plan. I got my game plan. This fine. This is just part of it. Um, Unfortunately, there were some challenges getting my bike ready for for the race. Um, to the point where it meant I couldn't actually use my TT, couldn't use Petra. So I had to try and find a replacement bike. You just couldn't get it race ready. So I had to get a replacement bike. Ended up fortunately getting, this was on so races on Sunday. On the Friday, I don't on Friday I don't have a bike, so I'm trying to get a bike, and we managed to find someone to loan me a TT for the race. Unfortunately, though, it was a 2015, 2014 or 2015 Project One, like Trek Project One, which is a beautiful bike. Like, don't you? The Project Ones are beautiful bikes. My coach rides one. I'd been eyeing one off potentially for as a future bike to have. Unfortunately, though, um, because of the nature of how urgent it was, because this is Friday, racing on Sunday, you've got to rack the bike on the Saturday. So trying to do this on the Friday. And we planned on actually sort of going down to Traverse City on Friday, getting everything set up, getting everything organised. So we're running around instead on Friday trying to get this bike sorted, get me a bike to be able to race. Otherwise, my race is done before it's even started. So we get this bike, do our best to get it race ready, but I don't have a chance. And they sort of copy the fit as best the bike shop as best they could copy the fit from my Cervelo. Um, and I was like, okay, so did the best they could, got everything. Said try to get everything right, but things like the down tubes are different length, so my bottles don't all fit in the same places, and then they're a lot tighter. Fit as well. Trying to run the tube for my speed fill just didn't quite work the same. Also, and this is going to sound really spoiled, but I'm used to having Di2. And the bike that I got did not have DI2. It was just straight manual shifting. Now, I have never had, or what did I tell you? No, I have had a TT with manual shifting. I rode it 3 times. So I am not used to manual shifting. Not only was it manual shifting, it was SRAM gearing, not Shimano, which works a little differently. So, I'm like, okay, so I've got to learn. Yeah, I've got a bike that I've never ridden before, with gearing I've never used before, in a from a brand I've never used before, and gearing style I've never used before. It's like this is going to be highly entertaining. But it was either that or not race. That were my choices, and I'm like, well, I haven't come all this way to not race, so I'm racing. So I get out there. Um, so we get down there on the Saturday. So we pick the bike up. We get down there. We go down there on the Saturday. And as I said, like we go to rack. And Saturday was supposed to be sort of get down in the morning, go for a swim, then go for a swim in the Lake Michigan just to get used to it, get back into the wetsuit. It's been a few months since I've been in the wetsuit. Just go through the motions, get everything sorted before we get to our accommodation for the night. So we didn't end up, because of all the shenanigans with the bike, we didn't end up getting down there until after lunch. And we've got to try and get to athlete check-in, then we've got to rack the bikes, and all the rest of it. So we get to athlete check-in. Athlete check-in was a bit of apparently it was less of a cluster mess than it was on the Friday. Apparently the Friday was a cluster mess, but this Saturday was reasonably good. It was okay. There seemed to be reasonably streamlined and organised. Got all the packet pickup. And this is going to sound silly, I know, but the merch tent had sold out of everything like unique to the event on the Friday. So I have a thing, right? I have a thing. I don't get a lot of souvenirs, merchandise, or whatever, but I get a visor from every race that I do. This is the first one I don't. I don't have the Traverse City visor. They sold out of all. I think I had 2 designs. Sold out of both of them completely on within hours of opening the store on the Friday at 2 p.m. So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. No mug either, so just nothing. Anyway, so we sort of get that. We sort of meet a few people, go get our bikes, and this is gonna it sounds small and tiny and frustrating, but it's like, okay, we've got the bikes. Okay, we put our numbers on that you do. You put the number on the seat post. And where we were parked, where the bikes where we were parked, is about a mile and a half away. And then we go down to transition, go to rack the bikes, and they're like, "Where's your seat post sticker?" I'm like, pointing at the back. There it is. They're like, "No, the other one." I'm like, "What other sticker?" And they're like, "The other one you need on the front." And I'm like, "There's nothing in the book that says I have to have one." They're like, "Oh yeah, it's a tiny little sticker on the bottom of the sticker sheet." I'm like, "Are you kidding?" So I couldn't rack the bikes because didn't have this secondary sticker. I'm like, nah. So everything's going pear shaped for me right now. Like I've got, I'm on a different bike. I haven't just nothing's going right. I'm having food issues trying to find food around this place. I'd lost my sunglasses. My sunglasses had gone missing at some point during this 2 days as well. It's just been an absolute disaster. And I'm just like, I'm just stressing out, and I'm just like, and it's also my birthday as well, by the way, because it's the day, because the 24th of August is my birthday, so this is all supposed to be my birthday, and it's like I'm just stressing. I am going nuts. Anyway, so then I leave over with the bikes. I run back to the car, pick up the sticker packs, run back, put the stickers on the bike. I'm like, okay, we rack the bikes, and at this point I think it's like almost 5 p.m. and I'm like, okay, we haven't eaten yet. And at this point, I'm starting to realize that I'm still dehydrated from the flight. So one of the things, of course, when you're flying is that you get dehydrated. And I'm like, okay, this is not good. I've got a long course race in 14 hours, and I'm already dehydrated. I haven't even taken one paddle stroke out on the course yet. So not eating, haven't drunk anything, haven't drunk enough, and I'm just like, yeah, this is not shaping up to be a good day. So, but at least I get a swim in, and that seems pretty good. I get, just shy of a kilometre swim in. I'm like, okay, yep, no, feeling good, feel good in the wetsuit, everything feels right. Got a new pair of goggles, so I'm like, okay, at least this part should be fine. Okay, so we did that. Then we go up for dinner. We originally were meeting some friends for dinner that night who were also racing. Problem was the restaurant that they picked did not have any food options for me. Like literally, we went to the waitress and we went, okay, so what food options on your menu are what are your gluten-free options? Nothing. was the response. Like literally, her response was nothing. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Like, what do you mean nothing? Oh, nothing. We have nothing that's gluten free. I'm like, okay. You. So we basically said to our friends, we're really sorry for making you wait for us, but we're gonna bounce. Bye. So I ended up having Mexican for the third time in a row or something stupid like that. It was just like, ugh. Anyway, but it was the only thing that I knew was safe. So we bounced from that. So it meant that dinner was late, and then we finally got to where we were staying, and just we got ourselves race ready. But as I said, already I was stressing. Um, Still not drinking enough water, and it was just like, yeah, there's just this, and I knew this was going to be a rough race. But I'm like, okay, you know what? That's fine. Just make the best of it. See what you can do. I'm still on a TT. You know, I can still swim. I can still run. Let's just go with it. Race day morning. Race day morning. Wake up, and I wake up with a headache and a dry mouth, and I'm like, yeah, this is not good. Bowl of water and electrolytes, sipping on it the whole morning, and I'm just like, yeah, this is a losing battle. Like I'll do what I can, but this is already off to a bad start. Eventually, we got down there, put the nutrition on the bike. As I said, I still haven't I not ridden the bike yet. Like this is still just anyway. So I'm like, okay, go my transition ready. There were also some issues trying to navigate being a diabetic and transition as well because I'm like, okay, because there's no because as I said, like previous when we were in Hawaii, the decision would be like, no, medical have to control the equipment, which is fine, but there's no medical at transition for Traverse City, like none, not no medical tent. There's a couple of medics that they said might wander around, but there is no place for them. I'm like, well, this is going to be a problem. I'm like, okay, and it's not like it's a short course event where I can just leave it by my transition thing. It's like I know I need it somewhere. So they ended up, to be fair, and the Traverse City head of transition was really good about this, and he sort of organised it and sort of helped me out and sort of okay, well, we've got a bike mechanics area. I said you can store it there, and just clip it to the edge of it, so everyone knows there's something there. Put my race number on it, so that was fine. At least we found a solution, but that was another added stress on the Saturday as well. So anyway, so race morning and sort of got everything ready. Yep, okay, fine. Check my levels. Yep, everything's about right. It's a little high, but that's fine, which is what I want at the start of the swim. Okay, so we're good. Okay, bike ready as I'm going to be. Laid everything out. Okay, let's do this. Wander down to the swim start, and we get going. So it's a wetsuit swim. Wasn't wetsuit compulsory. I think it was just right on the edge of wetsuit compulsory. So I went and had did the swim. Now I went into got myself on the swim. Now the swim for me, this is something I do. You know, it's a 1.9 kilometer swim. It's something I do like multiple times a week. Like this is nothing. Start of the swim. First 100 meters, pretty good. In the water, stroking along. Yep, good. A lot of people sort of freaking out. A lot of waiting, and I'm just sort of, yep, no, I got this. This is just another training day. Just keep stroking. About 100 meters in the swim, I start panicking. No idea why. Just completely just overcome with panic. I can't breathe. I can't turn my head. I can't stroke. I am literally frozen. And I'm just like, what the F? Like, what is going on here? This is ridiculous. I am better than this. And I just could not, I resorted to having to, I couldn't believe I was actually resort to breaststroke. I didn't get past very much, which I was surprised at. I was expecting to get past a lot during this period. But it took me probably a good 500 meters before I got myself under control. And even right now, I have no idea why I panic so much. I think maybe it's because it was freshwater. And this is one of the few races I've ever done where the race has been in freshwater. So maybe that had something to do with it. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was bad. And as I said, it took me about 500 meters before I got my shit together and was like, okay, nope, get this, just start stroking, start being consistent, get it going. Now, I have to say that the rocker glasses, I got the rocker goggles for the swim, and they were awesome. Um, I think I do think I need a darker tint on them, but yeah, they were definitely very clear. So yeah, Rocker, your goggles are worth every cent. I give you that. The R ones. Okay. Anyway, yeah, not paid at all, but just seriously, they were good. Just could be a little bit, could offer a darker tint. That'd be nice. Um, so finally get to the end of the swim, and it was interesting, and it was funny actually. At the end of the swim, I was just remembering something that my coach taught me, which was a lot of people, as soon as it's sort of like waist deep, they'll sort of stop and start trying to wade through the water, which is actually really slow. And a lot of people were doing that here, whereas I just kept going until I scooped sand. And then I stood up, and then I only had like 2 steps and I was out of the water. Because I'm faster going sideways than I am, going, swimming than I am wading through the water. So that was cool. It was awesome that we had wetsuit strippers. So that was cool. So straight up to wetsuit strippers. They were having so much. The volunteers across the entire course were great. They had a lot of fun. So wetsuit was stripped off, done, and I was heading towards transition really quickly. So that was good. And this is where I hit my next snag. So I come into so T1 for me is always going to be long, because T1 for me um, it's always going to be at least 6 minutes, because that's how long it takes because it can take up to that long for the transmitter for my CGM to start talking to the receiver again. So there's always going to be a significant delay for me in T1. So I get the T1, and the sensor actually starts talking after I think it's about 4 minutes. I think as they started talking. So I'm sort of, just put my socks on. I already had my calf sleeves on from the wetsuit swim. The advantage of the wetsuit swim is you can have the calf sleeves on. So I'm just putting my socks on, and I'm okay, all right, getting ready, and then talking to the C, and I looked at the CGM number. The CGM said I was 8.9, and I looked at that number and gone, there is no way on earth I am 8.9. I could feel that I was low, not stupidly low, but I knew I was not 8.9. I knew that. So I've then gone, okay, so let's do the calibration check, because I always do a calibration in T1 and T2 anyway. So I calibrate, and sure enough, 3.9. And I'm like, okay, that's lower than the number I was expecting, but okay, that's about what I was thinking. And then, of course, the CGM freaks out, because it goes, no. Okay, there's too huge a difference between what it's thinking that I am and what it just got inputted as. So it freaked out. And it then forces me now to do another 2 calibrations to make sure to basically reset itself. So I'm now burning more time in transition to now do an extra 2 finger prick tests to recalibrate it. Like, okay, that's fine. This is just part of being a diabetic athlete. Just roll with it and keep it going. So I do that, and that's fine. In the meantime, while it's ticking over, I'm still just trying to get myself ready. And then once I've done those calibrations and they came out at 3.8 and 3.9. So, yep, cool. Yep, we're on cool. So re-enter those numbers in, take a gel, everything's set up. Okay, we're good. Then I've got to run over to drop my box over in this mechanic area, tied up to clip it to the edge thing so it doesn't run away. Run back to my bike, grab my bike, and head off onto the bike. Head off to the mountain line. And I'm thinking at this point, okay, longish T1, but still solid. I'm still good. I've done the training. Yes, it's an unfamiliar bike, but it's a TT. Can't be that different, right? So, all right. So the course in Traverse City is very hilly. So everybody says that Michigan is flat, and southern Michigan might be flat, but sort of around the Great Lakes, no, it's not flat at all. It's very hilly. Including there is one hell of a hill pretty much straight out of transition that you do the climb up. So I'm heading out on this hill, and header is one hell of a climb. So I'm like, yep, standard thing, use my gears, drop into the small chain ring at the front. Yep, all good. And then climbing the hill. Yep, okay. It's like the bike fit's feeling a bit off, but I'm like, that's fine. Let's just get used to it. Let's get up the hill. Okay, cool. It's and the gearing is sort of okay. It's a bit odd, have to control the gears from the front of the aero bars and not being able to control it from the balls like I can with the Di2. But I'm like, that's fine. You can adapt. You can keep working with it. Let's go. So I'm heading up. I get to the top of the hill and I'm like, right, got a little bit of a downhill before the next hill. So I went to move my front chain from the small chain ring at the front to the big chain ring at the front, and the front derailleur goes clip. No, nothing. Just grinding, nothing moving, and I'm like, oh. So shuffle it back to the small, to derail back across again. Nothing. Still stuck in the small chain ring. I'm like, oh shit. So I've pulled over off the bike and I'm trying to feel around with it. Okay. Took me about 10 minutes. And eventually, basically the front derailleur was fucked. It was done. Um, I managed eventually, I have no idea what happened, but I managed eventually to get it into the big chain ring, but it was a one-way trip. I was not moving that front derailleur again for the rest of the race. So I am now stuck in the big chain ring at the front, and I have basically just lost half my gears on a hilly course. All my gears, all my low range gears are now gone. They're toast. Awesome. This is mile 3 of a 56-mile bike course. Awesome. So I've gone, okay, let's just roll with it. Let's adapt to it as we do. And as you can probably see in the reflection, April's just come back into the room. And I'm like, okay, this is not good at all. But, it is what it is. So I've done that and I go, okay, well, let's just keep going. That's what it is. As we've gone on, I've basically cooked myself on every single hill because trying to do everything with the big chainring, even smalling, making it as easy as you can at the back, I'm still missing half my gears. So it was a tough slog on a lot of the hills, and some of the hills are quite large. Now, as I said, like normally, if I had full range of motion on those gears, I wouldn't have had a problem. I've trained on hills bigger than that, and I've never had a problem. But I've always had full range of gears available to me. Couple that with then there was some really good straights and some downhills, which were good. But the problem is that the bike fit, because it was a bike that I wasn't really used to. The bike fit was close, but not enough. My front balls, my aero bars at the front were about an inch lower than what I'm used to on my Cervelo, which meant that I had a lot of issues along my back, along my shoulders. I actually lost feeling in my fingers a couple of times. So it was not good, and I had to have a choice of either came out of aero or I just simply couldn't feel anything, and I would actually go numb. So I lost time down in aero and I actually had to stop and get off the bike and just stretch out because that then translates all the way down my back into my hips, and I just couldn't turn the pedals. So I had to get off the bike and stretch a couple of times, I think twice. I then also, again, because of the chainring issue, I had to stop and to get off the bike and walk 3 hills. I'd been determined ever since Port to never walk a hill again. This course made a liar of me on that because I said I had to walk 3 hills. Very frustrating, and that really did one hell of a number on my mental state for the entire race. This one. Sorry, one moment. Okay, apparently everyone's going. By the way, the background is April's dorm room because she is a university student. She's studying up here at Lake Superior University.
Lake Superior State.
Sorry, Lake Superior State University she's studying at. So she's a student. This is her dorm room.
And our laundry.
And you may be able to see some of our laundry hanging up in the background there. So apparently she's heading back to class and stuff. So.
To the bookstore.
Okay. Bye.
Carry on. Love you. Bye.
You might need that. Anyway. So yeah, so I had to walk hills, and it was just, and as I said, my mental state was just after I lost that derailleur. I took my mental state took a beating after I lost that front derailleur, but it's okay, just keep going. And then when I had to come out, the first time to come out of aero and stop the bike because I was so sore from how bad the bike fit was, I couldn't turn the pedals. That's when I knew this race was now about survival. It was about finishing. It wasn't about what I wanted it to be about. I wanted this to be about a PR. I wanted this to be about showing that I can complete it, showing that I am a triathlete. because I can tell you right now that the way I feel at the end of this, I don't feel the worthy of the title triathlete, let alone the title Ironman. I can assure you of that. Anyway, so the bike was just a disaster. Um, the final couple of miles probably weren't too bad because they were all downhill. So I managed to sort of just stay down an area and endure the pain and stay down an area for those, and that was a lot of fun going downhill, um, either on the bars or down in the balls. I can see how this course would be. This course, by the way, I have to. I suppose that's the other thing about it is that I also learned to appreciate the beauty of the course. It is a very picturesque course. It is that. It's a very beautiful course, and the support from all the locals, as I said, it's a one loop track with a little lollipop along on the way back, and it's a beautiful course, a beautiful part of the world, and I did get to appreciate that. I suppose that was a good thing out of it. Um, but yeah, so came in off the bike, and I knew coming in off the bike that I'd cooked myself with that gearing on the hills, that where I hadn't given up and gotten off and walked, where I had stuck it out and ridden up, I knew I'd cooked myself, and it showed very quickly on the run. Um, I managed to run probably most of the first lap. That was 2 lap run. Most of the first lap, I managed to about 2/3 of the first lap. I ran, um, ran more than I walked, but then the second lap, it was a pretty much almost pure walking. I was just shattered because even the running was nowhere near my run pace. My legs were just completely fried from. They were just completely fried from that bike. Um, and as I said, the dehydration really started to play into it even more because even though I was on the bike, my sugar levels actually behaved really, really well for the entire course. Um, did take a small correction dose about 30 miles into the bike. Um, but yeah, my nutrition plan worked out pretty well, but I was just dehydrated is all it was. Is I was just purely dehydrated. And that goes back to, as I said, that goes back to the flight from 3 days before. So lesson learnt was very much pre-race nutrition and hydration is just as, if not more important than on course nutrition and hydration. So um, but yeah, as I said, the run was, and as I said, the run was not the run. It was a shuffle for so much of it because I was cramping. I was cramping, and my hips and my knees were just cooked from the bike. Um, I did the best I could with what I had, but yeah, it was just not pretty. Um, but at the same time, in some ways, it was also really good because I got to spend the time talking with other athletes and encouraging them and talking with them about their stories and sharing some of mine. And there was 2 women that I was sort of shuffling with towards the end of my second lap, and I was so immensely proud of these 2 women. Like one was a single mother of 2 kids and was like working, and so this had been like her goal. Like she'd never done a triathlon before in her life, and she was starting with a half Ironman, and I'm like, that's nuts. Also, full respect, like that's awesome, and training with it, like with the kids as well, like that's amazing and awesome. And there was another woman who'd been hit by a car about a year before, um, and she was just getting back into trying. She'd been very healthy, very active before, and done tries before, but this was her first event back after being hit by a car, and to a point where they didn't think she would ever walk again. And here she was. She'd run a few miles, but she was shuffling most of the rest of it. But she could swim and she could bike, and she was working her way through the run. And I was so proud to meet those two. Um, and they were just awesome. And hearing some other stories of people on the course, and seeing some of my handsome and SOAS ambassadors also on the course was cool. So yeah, it was a chance to appreciate a lot more appreciate the volunteers and appreciate a lot more of the course and the environment. And so it was frustrating and painful, especially when I came in an hour and a half slower than my expected time. But it was, in some ways, as I said, it's frustrating, but there was also silver lining to that as well. It was also really cool because April's whole family came out to support. So both her kids and her parents, both the parents came out to support us. We saw them on the bike. They held signs out for her on the bike, and I saw them coming down the finish chute. She saw them a couple of times on the run. They managed to catch her a couple of times on the run, including down the finish chute, and I saw them just as I was about to head down the finish chute, which is awesome. And yeah, and then because of the dehydration and everything I got those for, I did my trip back to medical. So I was hoping to avoid going to medical. I managed to not go to medical in Hawaii. I was really hoping, thought I was on a roll and not go to medical, but apparently no, I had to come to medical. But anyway, but they pumped a few litres of saline. I think it was about 3.5 litres of saline through me, and I was back up on my feet again. But yeah, it was tough, and I'm beating myself up over it. I know I shouldn't be, because I was handed a really tough set of race conditions. As I said, like racing on a bike, riding and racing on a bike I've never ridden before, like not even in practice. On a course I'm not familiar with, after having a lot of stress and a lot of things go wrong in the lead up to it, literally right up until including the day before kind of thing. And it's just, there's a lot of things going on that, weren't my fault, but, just adapt to it and do what you can. So I know, but I'm of course also my own biggest critic, and I will always hold myself to possibly impossible standards, because that's what I do. Sorry. And yeah, so I'm really struggling mentally for a couple of days, just struggling to even call myself a triathlete, let alone an Ironman, because that performance I put in was just absolutely woeful. Like I looked at it and just went, I should be able to move and I can't, and it's just really frustrating. So thanks for sticking with me, and sorry this has been a little late, but as I said, I had to mentally get through a lot for this one. This is a really long vlog because, as I said, it's got a lot there. But I guess part of it is that it's about perseverance and about adapting to what you've got and not giving up, because I was never going to quit. And that's probably the thing I want to highlight about this, is that yes, things went wrong. Things went horrifically sideways a lot of the way through, but I was determined not to give up. I was not going to quit. And that's probably the big thing, is that you can still make it, you can still go through. And if an event, for the competitors, as a competitor, as like you said, you can get through it, you can push through it, you can work on it, just keep going. Because there's always something you can do. If you're a spectator or a chance to volunteer at an event like this, if it comes to your town, go along, especially if you can. Stay out there late, because being at the back end of the pack when everything else is starting to pack up, they're the people who need the lifting the most. They're the ones who need the crowd to draw. They're the ones they're the true heroes. The ones like the two girls that I was walking with for a while. They're the ones that have had the biggest adversities, the biggest challenges, the biggest obstacles in their way that they've overcome to get there. So be there to support them, because they're the real heroes. We all like to idolize the first places, the top, the podium getters. We like to that, but it's the people at the back, the people that commit, do the hours and hours, that know they're never going to get the recognition. They're the ones who are the true heroes. So if you ever get to see an event like this, don't be angry like some 82-year-old that was on the bike course that ended up almost running over a state trooper because he didn't like the fact that the state trooper said no, the road is closed due to a cycling event. Anyway, whole other story. Google it if you're interested. Google Ironman 70.3 Traverse City driver arrested on bike course. Google that. Anyway, but yeah, it's the people that aren't going to get the accolades, that aren't going to get the awards. They're the ones that put in the most work, the hardest effort. They know they're not going to get any reward, but the reward is in here. That's the thing, is the reward's in here. They're the people that are the heroes. They're the people that, if you're out there in an event like this, they're the ones you should be supporting. So, just my thoughts. Anyway, all right. I'm here for another couple of days in the US, trying to do this weird thing called relaxing, because I don't do it very well. and then back to Australia and back to work. So yeah, and then trying to figure out some bike options. So we'll see. All right, guys. Thanks very much. Take care. I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.